Hey folks, Fernando doing a video for the Modern Survivalist. I was recently asked about impact weapons, how effective they are, my take on it, what do I think about these, expandable batons, that sort of thing as well, blackjacks, zaps. It's really not the first thing that comes to mind. Usually, if you ask me about a weapon for self-defense, I will go with a handgun whenever possible. Yes, keep in mind that legislation changes from one country to the other, even from one city to the other many times. So often it's not the case that it's a possibility, but whenever possible, a good firearm is by all means the thing that provides you the best level of protection, as long as you know how to use it, of course. These are not magic wands. As we're seeing right now with the different incidents of violence in the streets, a lot of this is going to be about avoiding problems to begin with, being in a heightened state of awareness and alert, so as to, if you could not avoid it, just detect the threat ahead of time and just go the other way. Avoid at all, as much as possible, confrontation. If you've been surprised, if you've been caught with your guard down, if you've been ambushed and you don't have much of an option, some tool to defend yourself will be critical. A handgun, whenever possible, that should be your main tool, and you should have the training so as to use it as well. Again, not magical wands. These don't provide protection on their own. I've been reading people looking for different options right now. The prices of guns have gone through the roof, and what lots of people are missing the point is training. They don't have the training, and that reflects on their choices of guns as well. You see people asking for advice, suggestions, and obviously some terrible advice is floating around out there. Those folks would learn the hard way if they took those guns they're talking about to a class. Within 24, 48 hours, they'd realize how bad of a choice that gun was. Usually, if you're looking for a gun, my advice, get a Glock 19, Glock 17, something along those lines, right? If you can't get a gun, go with pepper spray. It's a lot more effective than a lot of people give it credit for. It's used very often by the police with very good results. There was an incident recently in Argentina where a woman using pepper spray still got killed. Nothing is 100% guaranteed. It can still happen, but it's usually a pretty effective tool. Then, of course, a pocket knife, a folding knife, a tactical knife. These are great tools for self-defense as well. Yes, if you have some knowledge, some training on how to use these effectively, of course, that's going to be incrementing the effectiveness of it considerably. So you don't need anything fancy. This is the Kershaw Brawler. It's a nice assisted little folding knife. It's clipped, so you have it right in your pocket, very easily accessible. It rides pretty low. It's black clipped, so it's not all that noticeable, and it's assisted opening. It's not automatic. There's been a case recently in which a guy was being accused of having an automatic knife. The lawyer got him out of that by making the point, no, it's an assisted opening. An automatic knife has some sort of button that releases a mechanism that opens the knife. An assisted opening knife assists on the action that you're initiating yourself with your finger, and it just completes that motion. Yes, of course, it looks very fast once you get the hold of it, and it looks like something automatic. It's not. It's assisted, and legally that's a big difference. Anyway, this is a good option as well. Someone's coming after you, you're surrounded by people. You're not going to be that much of an easy target when you start slashing and stabbing and cutting anyone that gets close. Now, if someone has a gun, you may end up getting shot, but it's been proven time and again to be an effective tool for self-defense. A folding knife, I feel pretty strongly, pretty secure about that. Even if you have just a multi-tool, guys, you don't need anything too fancy. This is still a piece of metal. It's going to be sharp. It's going to be poking holes into people coming after you. It is going to be a lot better than not having a tool for self-defense. Now, when it comes to impact weapons, this is one of the options I often advise, and this is the one I describe in Street Survival Skills how to actually make. It couldn't be any easier. It's just a piece of leather folded in half, stitched there in the bottom like I did right here, and you clearly see it's not that big a deal, and you put like a cord through it, and it's basically like a bag for pocket change. And the concept is still pretty much the same as you have in a zap, in a blackjack, in a beaver tail. Blackjacks were used by law enforcement many years ago, and it was in fact banned because of how effective it was. The police officer would just handle a suspect and slam it over the head just to calm the guy down, and ending up cracking the person's skull, even killing them or leaving them with some serious permanent damage. That's why it was banned in many police departments, and still is. So one of the things you have to keep in mind is the legal aspect. Sometimes if it's a zap or a blackjack or anything that's an actual weapon, that may be banned where you live, right? Even if a gun is allowed, maybe a zap is banned. This kind of impact weapon may not be allowed wherever it is that you are. Now, a bag of coins, that is allowed everywhere in the world. A little old lady bag full of pocket change, that is, no one's going to be banning that anytime soon. And it's going to be very hard to argue against that because it's what you actually have. You have a leather bag with some coins, some pocket change, maybe a couple bills in there. No big deal. Yet, at the same time, for all practical purposes, it is pretty much the same thing. And I actually got a message on Instagram, someone that actually made it and tried out, said, "Fernando, I'm surprised by how much power it delivers, even with a flick of the wrist like this. It's so obvious how you can easily crack someone's head if you hit them over the head, even with very little distance. Just doing like this motion, like that, it's gonna be cracking a skull rather easily. Not a lot of stress is needed, not a lot of coins. Maybe this is a little bit too fat here. Just half as much. It's gonna be the mechanics of how this, like the whip motion and the weight of the coins. It is very, very effective. Give it a try if you're looking to some kind of impact weapon that is actually useful and has been used throughout many years by people in that line of work, and with very, very good results. Even using it like a heavy fist at times, just hitting people like that, it's been proven to be effective time and again. So it's an interesting option, folks. Just a few pieces of advice for you guys looking to stay safe out there in the streets, given everything going on. Keep in mind Street Survival Skills, guys. Yes, of course, it's my book. I self-promoted, obviously enough, but it is tailor-suited, tailor-made for this kind of situation you're seeing right now. So keep that in mind. It will be helpful and useful for you, no doubt. See you in the next video, folks. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Take care.